Well, hello guys, Josh Babb here with White Oak Outdoors. It's been a little bit. So, today, because I have a bunch of projects that are going on, and I won't mention them, they'll be a surprise, but the videos will probably be coming out late winter, early spring, maybe a little bit later. So, I have a big project planned, and so I just thought I'd do kind of like a filler video today, but I hope you guys can still learn something from it. So there's plenty of videos out there on YouTube and the internet of how to make bow drill fire. So this type of friction fire was used by the natives around here. Actually, if you want to get really specific, they used the pump drill, but about an hour or two to the east of where I am, they used the bow drill. So still, you can I've used it plenty of times, and you can see I already made a fire. And so what we're gonna do today is show you guys my technique, form, and what I do to get a friction fire. So stay tuned and don't go away. Okay guys, as you can see, I have a display of what I'm going to use for the fire. We'll go over this is tulip poplar bark, and any tinder will really work as long as it can be light and fluffy. I've even gotten feather sticks to work off of a technique, and I'll probably do that in another video of how to ignite feather sticks with a bow drill fire. But I just like using tulip poplar because it's nice and fine. Other barks will work as long as you can get a nice fluffy nest. So that's the first piece. Second piece is the spindle. And for the spindle and hearthboard, I've used tulip poplar. And basically you want the spindle to be the width of your thumb, and then pinky to thumb length. I like it to just go a little bit beyond because you can see I've burnt up the end. So I like to just go maybe half an inch or so beyond that. Found a little seashell. So that's the spindle. Nice and round, no bark on it, and that will be used to drill into the hearthboard. Now the hearthboard should be over the size of your thumb, but just slightly over. And it doesn't matter if it has knots in it, you just don't make a fire where there's a knot. See, a lot of guys just throw out good boards because there's a knot in it. Just work around the knot, because I can still get probably another fire off of this hole, and quite a few more off of this. So that's the board, also made out of tulip poplar. And next thing is the bearing block. And you can make these out of wood. I just happened to find this bone a couple days ago. Probably looks like it's off of pelvis, and it has a nice divot in there that's nice and smooth, so it's not gonna really catch. And that's what I'll put the spindle into when I make the fire drilling. So yeah, probably a deer bone, or probably not a deer bone, but some bone that'll work. And then the last part is the bow. This is your power, and I've made a notch on the one end, and then I've just kind of strung it up on the other. And this is the best bow I've used so far. This is made out of tulip poplar, but it doesn't really matter what you make the bow out of, and as long as it's strong and it just has a slight curve to it. You don't even need a curve, but just a slight curve helps so that the spindle doesn't rub against it. So those are the components, and now I'll show you how to actually make the fire. Okay guys, so the first step is to address any of our needs. So we're just going to point the top of this, as you guys can see. We're just going to go around, and we're going to try to make this pointy. And I'm trying to do this with the camera, so my skills may not be quite up to par. As you guys can see, all I'm doing is making it pointy. And I'm going down just a bit on the spindle because I don't want it to rub in the shoulders to rub. And the shoulders are pretty much the crown right here. So we'll just keep carving until we reach the certain point, reach a point. And you don't want it to be a very sharp point. This is good right here, as you guys can see. If it'll focus on me. There we go. See, it's not a very big point, but it's just a dull point, and that'll work just perfectly fine. Okay, so our second order of business is to make a divot right here. So we're going to go just a little ways beyond, I don't know, maybe ½ an inch or so. And we're just going to, I'm behind the camera right now, so it's a little hard for me to do, but we're just going to make a divot. We're just going to go around. Until we have just enough room for it to seat with the spindle. So we don't want it to carve it too deep. We just want it to be big enough to put our spindle into, and we want it kind of near the edge. So if we can get that seat closer to the edge, that'll be ideal. We don't want it on top of the edge, but we want it maybe 1 millimeter from the edge. And so we'll just continue to scrape until it's finished. And as you guys can see, just give me a sec, that it will seat and it's not going to move. Just ruffle it up, get it nice and fluffy. You want the ember, what we're going to be making, to be able to ignite it. So don't want really any big chunks in it, or if there is any big chunks, you want it to be towards the back of the bundle. We're just going to keep twisting that until it becomes nice and fluffy. And you can do this, or you can tear it. Just start tearing it apart like that, and that also helps to create surface area in the bundle. And once you get it nice and fluffy, you should have, 1 minute, there's this big piece. Okay. So we have some hard stuff towards the back, but on top it's nice and fluffy, and that's going to work fine. We just want to make a little depression with our thumb and then kind of fluff everything up around it, so, and create a pocket. And that will be our tinder bundle. Okay guys, we're not going for a fire immediately here, but what we're trying to do is do what's called the burn-in. So you're going to take the thing, lay it down on a couple leaves just to keep it off the wet, damp ground, if the ground is damp. So I'll just keep it off the ground like that, and I'm going to put my foot close to my divot. And if you have shoelaces that are dangling off, just do that. And the next part is, I gotta take off this jacket, it's a little big. The next part is to take your spindle, wrap it around. I'll show you that. You go under with the top facing up, and then you cross it down and pull, and that gives you a spin. So now I'm just going to grab that, and this is a really weird bone, so I'm not sure exactly how to grab it without injuring, but we'll just start by, you'll see smoke, but you shouldn't get excited because we're not making a fire quite yet. Okay, as you guys can see, we have made a little divot. Okay guys, you can see our little hole here. And what we're going to do is find the middle. Hope you guys can see that. And we're going to make a mark going down the side. And then we're going to do the quarter rule. So we're going to go a quarter of the ways in from the edge, and we're going to make a little mark. So about right there. And then we're going to do the same to the other side. And that will give us, as you guys can see, a couple lines. And we're going to take that, we're just going to cut in. If you guys want a really good video on the bow drill, Mitch Mitchell, Native Survival, does a great one. He taught me pretty much. I watched 100 bow drill videos, couldn't figure it out. Watched his, and I got my first fire. So that guy really knows his stuff when it comes to friction fire. Try to keep this in camera for you. And so basically, what we're trying to do is cut a notch. People say not to the center. I like mine kind of far back from the center. That way it creates dust faster. I don't need to create as much energy. So I'm going to only go about a quarter of the way in. So about just a little bit farther. I've got to remember to keep this guy in focus. Keep this over here. And you want your notch to be smooth so that your coal will not stick. So make sure you smooth out the notch so that you don't lose your coal to the board and it doesn't break your coal. So now that we have our pie notch, focus, there we go. Now that we have our pie notch, we're going to go to the back of this after we do a bit more of cleanup. Okay. You guys get the point. And we're going to just make a little depression on the back. Like so. And then we have our notch and we're ready to go and make fire. Now, this can take a little bit of physical stamina, but if you're in good shape, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we don't need to go too fast at first. We're just trying to build up a coal base. So we're just trying to build up a coal. and you guys can see the dust that's forming. And now, once the dust gets to the top, we're going to lay on the power. And if your spindle starts to go, put your thumb there, start drilling. Wave your hand, give it some oxygen. It looks like we have a coal. You can dump some of the excess powder on there for it to eat. And now, this is when we can take our time, put it in our bundle, and blow it to flame. Okay guys, we have our coal now, and got our tinder bundle. We're just gonna take our coal, we're gonna bring it into the nest. There you go. Friction fire. Pretty cool. Okay, so I just put it out, and if it's cool to the touch, and it's safe. So, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas, and see you in the next one.